21 Dreams. Mammie's Drive.
Once upon a time, there was a lady who absolutely hated being cold. She spent most of her time in her little house, just trying to keep the temperature at a nice 21 degrees. But it was very difficult because she was so sensitive to anything even slightly colder or hotter. It had to be just right, or she couldn't sleep. She lost her appetite. She was itchy. There was nothing for it. She just had to regulate the temperature all the time. And this lady's name was Mamie. Mamie didn't really have much of a life beyond adjusting the thermostat and putting on and taking off jumpers. But even though she lived a quiet life, she didn't feel like she had balance. It was actually quite stressful, keeping the house at 21 degrees. One day she began to wonder, how could I achieve a more balanced life? I ought to get out more. Where could I go? The cake shop? I do love a slice of cake, and they have air conditioning as well as lemon drizzle. But then the door is always opening and closing. As people come in, there's a breeze, not to mention the hot air from the ovens. Then she had a brainwave. I know! I could go to my friend's house. She has a state-of-the-art air conditioning system. But Mammie's idea brought its own problems with it. To get there, she needed to drive. She only had a vintage car, which did not regulate the temperature at all. I'm just never going to be able to go, she thought. Not without a modern car, where you can change the temperature with a dial. Once again at a loss, Mamie looked around her house, which suddenly seemed small and a bit stuffy, in spite of her efforts with the thermostat. She noticed the beautiful, colourful fans hanging on the walls, which she had brought back from a trip abroad years ago, when she wasn't so worried about the temperature. What if I took the fans and rigged them up inside my vintage car? I would have a lovely cool breeze the whole journey. So that's what she did. Armed with dozens of fans made in a range of colourful papers, tied everywhere they could fit in her cherry red car, she set off. She wasn't perfectly comfortable, but with the breeze of the fans, she was just about making it work. Then she got distracted from her worries about the temperature. It was so long since she'd been out of her house. She could see people and hear snatches of conversation. She was listening actively to the wind and the birds. Suddenly, she realised she'd driven all the way to her friend's house without operating her cooling system at all, because she'd been so taken up observing the things around her. It was actually a little bit hot for her. She began to panic and breathe fast. She put her hands over her face and waited for disaster. Then, nothing happened. She took off her lair and got out of the car. She sniffed the fresh air, detecting a beautiful smell. On the porch, her friend was in a rocking chair. "Mammy, come up here. Let's share this cake." Mamie took a slice and tasted it for what felt like the first time. It was lemony and delicious, and she didn't even think about its temperature.